Hi there YouTube, Guildmouse here, and today we're talking about taverns. Guildmouse. Last time we talked about being on the road, so it would make sense that we're talking about taverns, right? Absolutely. And the main reason that we're going to talk about taverns, and I'm not just going to talk about the things you can do at taverns, but some of the things that you should consider doing when you go to a tavern. Last time was a little bit more of a rant. This time I've had a little bit more time to think about, well, there's so many rules to society in taverns, let's give taverns a go. We're going to talk about taverns, inns, and bars because, shockingly enough, there is a difference. Those three differences are: inns are for sleeping, taverns are for sleeping and eating, and bars are just for eating and drinking. I'll start with inns because inns are for sleeping. Inns are a great place to get local information like directions. Maybe even information about things that are going on more than just in the city, but don't really expect the inn staff or the innkeeper to be like, oh no, totally, this guy named Greg who lives in the, butcher's block totally told me about this thing, right? Because they're more busy dealing with the highwaymen and travelers coming through. They're going to have more widespread rumors, like this continent over here, or this really far city that's all the way across the continent will have this kind of information or this kind of information. I really wouldn't count an inn out for maybe having, free breakfast or something if you stay the night. But if you're just looking for a place to sleep, camp there. Then we'll talk about bars. Bars are a fantastic place to get information, because drunks have loose lips. Whether they're telling the truth or not is a whole other spiel. And in most fantasy-based games, when Michael, the town drunk, starts going on about giant rats in the sewer, well, you kind of have to take that one with a grain of salt. Or if you're playing in 40k and there's giant rats in the sewer, you might want to go look at that if you want to, but I wouldn't advise it unless you have a vendetta against them like I do. Anyways, drunks are great people to get information from if they're consistent. Bartenders. Some bartenders require a little gracing of the palm, aka some monies for their service. Some bartenders offer information up willingly. Sometimes you've got to hang out with the barmaids. Barmaids gossip. It's just a fact. It's kind of like having a chatty waitress, except this one tells you about, a deal from a noble that she may or may not have partied with recently. Understandable. There's, of course, your standard tavern, where you can sleep there, you can eat there, you can get information from just about anybody. Not every city is going to have a tavern, not every city is going to have a bar, and not every city is going to have an inn. Most cities, and a lot of the games that I've played so far, have taverns, because it kind of encompasses all of the things, and there's less fuss and muss to where you gotta go, especially when your DM is interested in moving the story along so you can get to the slaying. Or if you're trying to move the story along so you can get to the slaying, or to the treasures, or to the imminent death of the pit. That's taverns, inns, and bars, and that's like a really quick synopsis, but here's some things that you need to keep in mind whenever you're going into a tavern. Weapons. Weapons are scary. Peace tie your weapons. What's peace tying? Well, peace tying is where you take a cloth or a strip of leather and you secure your belt into your sword into your scabbard. Usually it's like with a little button. You'll see it in some animes, or I think even Game of Thrones, where they go like flick and they release a latch or something and they're like, okay, now my weapon's ready. That little gesture means a lot. If you're just walking around a bar with a war hammer, people might take offense, or, if you're staying in a tavern, the tavern owner might be, could you put that in your room? Well, I'm staying in the common room. I got a storage locker, or you can rent this space for it. Put it with your cart or your animal or something. Having weapons in a bar, especially when it's not a barbarian or a brawler bar, is kind of scary. Especially for common folk. Yes, you are an aged adventurer, you're new on the field, and so you feel more comfortable with, Betsy the Stabber. The deal is, not every common person's gonna be okay with you walking around with a greatsword, going, hey, look at my shiny bladed weapon that I could just, lift and then drop onto your table and break it. So yeah, peace tying is a sign of respect, and sometimes it can lead to more willing participants from the community because they don't think that you're a threat. Now, those of you who like daggers and things like that, well, I'm not going to peace tie my dagger. That's fine. Keep it hidden. Don't make it obvious that you have them. It's not common knowledge that every rogue has a dagger. It's not common knowledge that, well, it might be common knowledge. Some people just assume things like that. I mean, when I'm roaming down the street, if someone comes up to me, I go, what sharp object do you have? No punchies. But that's because, irrational fear of the inconsistencies of human nature. So my terrors aside, peace tie your weapons. It's a great social thing to do. It might make people more willing to work with you. Don't just walk up to the bar and start berating people. Don't just walk up to a person and berate somebody. Do it with class. I mean, sure, your English or your common skills may not be great. You might have not have a good grasp on the Emperor's language, which, why wouldn't you? It's all we speak. Maybe you're mute. I don't know. Either way, you gotta find a way to communicate with people, and most people like it better when you grease the wheel than when you just walk up, grab them by their throat, and say, speak! Tell me your things. That's a little bit much. Sure, that could be completely within the nature of your character, and kudos to you for staying in character. I expect that person to pee themselves and or lubricate themselves and then stare at you and go, nope, I ain't got nothing for you, you have my throat. You catch more flies with honey than vinegar, unless they're goblins, and then you threaten to stabby stab, and you usually get what you want because they're afraid of everything. Yay, gobbos! Some things that I've noticed about players in the past when it comes to specialized species, those that you wouldn't see normally, like Warforged, or a Psyker without a guard, a Dragonborn that isn't quite aware that they're Dragonborn. Things like that. If you are not a Humie, and the world is population heavy for humans, you're probably gonna run into some issues. People who are irrationally afraid of you, people who dodge you, people who really don't want to do the thing. If you're a Psyker, you're visibly branded. Psykers are from Warhammer 40,000, and they're big badass psychics, and if you want to play them, I say do it because, yes, just don't get sucked into the void. Make sure your percentiles love you. That's a story. If you are something uncommon, something gloriously uncommon, even with, I was going to say Dragon Ball Z. Even with Dragon Ball Z. No. Even with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, they say in the book that the now standard race of the Dragonborn, those guys, obviously I don't play them, are still on the more uncommon or rare side, which means out of a population of 1,000, you'll be lucky if you see 0.5. Out of a population of 10,000, there may be at least, 5. So keep in mind things like that. You're not normal to be seen, so when I think we previously discussed playing a furry or cat people or things like that in a previous video, that expect to have strange looks, people dodge you. If you're a warforged, people are going to wonder if you're a golem, if they even know what that is. Otherwise, moving statue, holy crap. Why is it moving? Mommy, is it going to kill me? Possibly. Are you a chicken? 10 points to any house who gets that reference. So, just be aware that you might need someone to function as a buffer. That's the short of the long. If you're an unusual or uncommon species or race, just be aware that you may need a buffer in order to communicate with people. Sure, you can find another way to do it. Heck, kids like imaginary things. But kids are also the first ones to scream and panic and run. So it's kind of a hit or miss on that one. Learn how to communicate, possibly through using a buffer. Something that also should be said about being an uncommon creature or race is that there is a good chance that you won't be allowed inside the tavern, inn, or bar. There's a good chance that you won't be allowed inside any place of business, or banned out of the marketplace because they don't know what you are. They don't know if, or you'll have a heavy town guard detail following you and trying to be sneaky in their, armor. Clank, clank, clank. Gosh, do you hear that? It sounds like, what is that? We being followed by an army? No. That would be them. Over there. With all the shinies. So, just be ready to feel ostracized. Don't take it personally. Your DM's not attacking you. They're just potentially helping you realize where exactly your position in the world is. Because everything cannot be sunshine and kittens and bunnies. And sure, there are definitely some games like that, but remember, not every game is for every player. When I bother to run, mine runs more towards realistic. Racism is definitely something there. You are scary and unknown, and therefore I hate you. That is not an uncommon mind thing. So just keep that in mind. Be ready to be told that you can't even sleep in the barn. That's happened. It sucks. But maybe the paladin can vouch for you so you can at least sleep with the horses. Things that you can do in a tavern. And I'm just going to focus on a tavern because it is the hybrid combination of an inn and a bar. Things you can do. You can gamble. You can chat. You can have a sing-off with or without a bard. Nobody said that you had to be a bard to have a sing-off. You could 100% and totally just be two drunk loud people, or sober loud people, and just bust a move with a song. That's a lot of fun. It's a great way to build reputation, even if it's, man, those guys were so hammered. And all they did was sing the same song 16 times in a row. I don't even know. I'm pretty sure the song evolved. That's a good way to get reputation, be it good or bad. The thought of there's no such thing as bad publicity is completely incorrect. I'm starting fires with that one right now. There's no such thing as bad publicity. Funny stuff. If you accidentally scare an entire merchant's product, we'll say chickens, that's going to get around pretty quick. And that is bad publicity. You'll get banned from stuff. Unless they were wanting to sell dead chickens and then you've helped them, and then that's good publicity. You sped up their day. Chickens that die of heart attack, less traumatizing than breaking their neck, I suppose. For the vendor? I don't know. That's a whole other spiel. Anyways, you can have a drinking contest. You can have gambling. Gambling is very difficult sometimes because, well, you lose all your money and then you get kicked out. And that sucks. There are games to help enhance you guys could just play poker during that time. Sneak some poker into your game day. Or we have a game way over there off camera. It's called Red Dragon Inn. Check it out. It's a lot of fun. It's a tabletop game. There's a bunch of characters and classes, so you could just change the name and actually play that game in the middle of your game. But if that's too much fuss, just there are card game expansions for Dungeons and Dragons where you can just play gambling through that. I cannot remember. It's like King's Cross or something. But I also think that's a normal card game. Anyways, gambling. You can drink. You can drink with the bartender if the bartender is willing to drink with you. And then you can make friends with the bartender. You can drink with barmaids. You can just flirt with people. You can just communicate with people. Most people that are hanging out on taverns, if they're the only place to hang out, are just travelers. It's a good way to get information. If you see some of your own kin, like dwarf sees dwarf, 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 dwarf to dwarf. You know, that's usually how those conversations go. They switch to their language. Everybody drinks together, has a party, unless they hate each other, and then they beat each other up, hopefully with the fisticuffs. Because it lasts longer. It's more fun that way. Or they find the romances. I'm just using dwarves because they're awesome. I don't play them often. I play halflings, but I'm usually busy. Humans finding other humans. They do human things, etc. Halflings might try to one-up each other by, oh, I did this, I did that, I did this. Have you been? Or the likelihood is they're from a similar family or they're cousins somehow because so many halflings. Gnomes could get into a tinker-off. You don't know what a tinker-off is? Well, I made this thing. Ugh, look what it does. And the other one goes, takes pen cap off, it's on fire. You know, get to my level, son. Things like that. Brown Sharpie. Other things you can do with your party specifically, all of the things that I've already listed. And you can share a room. You can stay in the common room. Common rooms are a great way to sleep if you want to build friendliness with people. Because everybody sleeps in this main space. And it's not like a cuddle puddle. Everybody has their own space. If they want their own space, it's usually cheaper than getting in their own room. And sometimes it's just the only option. Oh, important things about sleeping. Don't sleep with your armor on, because it's not that it's rude, it's that you won't get good sleep. So, hang out in the common room. It's a good way to meet people. It's a good way to build stuff with your party members. Also, sharing a room with your party member. Usually, it does not cut the cost of the room, which I don't know why. I think it's just because it's a per-person deal instead of per room. I may be bringing that up later. Eating together is always a cool thing to do with your party, or just with, you know, my example before, dwarf, 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 dwarf. You know, get some news from the homeland or not, learn about other ones. See if gully dwarves can count how many turkey legs they've eaten. Things like that. Turkey legs for breakfast. Oh, so heavy, going to die. Anyways. So that's a bunch of stuff that you can do in taverns, inns, and bars, and some things that you should keep in mind when you're in a town. There's a lot of social aspects to it. Definitely be ready to social. If you're not the kind of person to social, wander around with somebody who won't shut the heck up. Be ready to have a buffer if you're somebody who's uncommon. Be ready to have to camp outside of town and not have a good night's sleep, but maybe have somebody bring you food. So, what do you guys think? Did I leave anything out of taverns and inns and bars? What are some things that you guys do when you go into a tavern or into a city? And, you know, I'd love to hear about that. So, drop me a message in the doobly-doo, and I will check out your shining happy faces later. Bye! So I'm going to start recording soon for the classes videos that I had talked about in a couple of previous episodes. Those ones are actually going to be posted on my channel instead of on Guildmaster Dan's channel. and that's gonna be fun. I don't have any videos on there yet, mostly because we've just been really busy between work and life and generating life. So, keep an eye out for those videos. If you guys have a suggestion of what you want to see next time, I actually got some great suggestions from RPG Brigade that I will be getting to very soon. I just had to knock this one out first. And I look forward to seeing you guys' comments or questions below. I'm happy to answer them anytime. And I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Thank you! Bye. So awkward, I just never know. Do you guys have suggestions on how to end a video? Maybe it's just like, fade to black, done. I don't know. Tell me about that too. Bye.